So welcome everyone. We're gonna get going. We appreciate your patience as we're all getting used to these virtual meetings. We have staff on Zoom and behind the scenes helping out. So we're gonna work our way through this slideshow and feel free to follow along. Chuck?
Yes, again, welcome everybody to the May 7th meeting for the City of Columbia. We ask that everyone have us provide us some patience during this virtual meeting. It is unprecedented in the board, so it's all everybody's new. I would also like to extend very personal thanks to Rachel and her staff and all of the staff members that are working behind the scenes to make this possible.
All right, you all's faces are blocking my screen. There we go. Board members and applicants are participating via Zoom. Some are using video and all are using audio. I will unmute applicants when your case is called. So everyone, please be aware of your audio and be mindful of anything in the background of your video as well to eliminate distractions. If you're calling in and showing on your screen, please use your phone audio and mute the screen just so there's no playback. We want to make sure that there's no audio issues as we move forward. So the public is able to participate in a few ways. They can stream via City TV. They can send in through email. There's a phone option, and there's also a log on to publicinput.com, which is the interface we're using for the public participation. The public may stream at the below link. You can also go to the city website, and on the main page, there'll be the red ticker at the top that says live Board of Zoning Appeals. If you click that, it will take you right to the YouTube streaming. Email at any time during the meeting before a case is voted on. You can submit your letters and statements via email to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. Again, that's cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. That is being monitored throughout the meeting, and any emails and letters will be read into the record by staff. Again, we just need to receive those prior to voting on a case. So you can send those at any time, even before your case is heard. The call-in number for public participation is 1-855-925-2801. When prompted, you'll enter the meeting code, which is 8588. So again, this is the information that was also printed on the final agenda. Those participating by phone can hit *1, and it just allows you to listen to the audio. Again, if you're listening and streaming, make sure you mute your computer and just use your phone audio. *2 allows you to record a voice message that's being monitored by staff, and we will either transcribe and read into the record, or we'll play the voicemail into the record through Zoom. And *3 allows you to be placed in a queue to speak live when prompted. So at any time, if you call in and you hit *1 and you decide you want to speak, at any time you can hit any of those prompts, and it will let you leave a message, or it'll put you in the queue. So, and again, it can be streamed at publicinput.com/COCBOZA. And again, I wanted to make this very clear. If you're participating by phone while also streaming on your computer, please mute the audio on your computer, because if we try to patch you in to speak live or to play your voicemail, it's going to mess up the audio, and there'll be some playback and some double, because the audio of the phone and computer streaming is actually about 30 or so seconds behind. So there'll be some lag. So, and I'll go ahead and call roll just to make sure we have a quorum. Mr. Sally?
Here.
Mr. Dinkins? Jean? You might be muted.
My
I unmuted
apologies,
you.
Rachel and board. I am here. Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Primus? I'll unmute you.
Here.
Thank you. Miss Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Gregory?
Here.
We have a quorum. All right, check.
Okay. Applicants with requests before the Board of Zoning Appeals are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects.
Oops, sorry.
This time limit does not include any questions asked by the Board of Zoning Appeals or staff regarding questions. Any member of the general public may then address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if by spokesperson for established body of a group of for established body, a group of 3 or more. The applicant will then have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The board reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis.
All right, so and just on the timers, I'll be doing the timer on my part, and I will just let you know, board, when the time limit has lapsed.
Okay.
The board uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. If a member of the board or the general public wishes to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed and placed on the regular agenda. The board then approves the remaining consent agenda items. The first item on the consent agenda is the approval of the March 5th, 2020 minutes. Next is case 2020-0018 for the 400 block of Sunset Drive, TMS 09107-0202. This is a special exception to establish a religious organization. Case 2020-0019 for 2824 Blossom Street, TMS 11315-0308, a variance to the side yard setback requirement for an addition. Case 2020-0020 for 2509 Forest Drive, TMS 11412-0401. This is a special exception to permit a drive-through facility for a restaurant use. It should be a special exception to establish to reestablish a drive-through facility for a restaurant use. Sorry for that typo. Case 2020-0021 for 523 Superior Street, TMS 11212-1901, a variance to the minimum parking requirement for a membership sports and recreation use. Um, 2020-0024A, which is for 1501 Broad River Road and 1231 Bush River Road, also known as 215 Bush River Road. TMS is 07308-0107 and 07308-0106. Special exception to establish a gasoline service station. And just for the record, one of these properties is pending annexation. So it is going to council for the annexation. And this is Part B, 2020-0024 for 1501 Broad River Road, 1231 Bush River, also known as 215 Bush River Road. This is the special exception to permit a convenience store. In case 2020-0025 for 1516 Garden Plaza, former site of Gonzalez Gardens. TMS is 114110401, 114110501 et al. It's a variance to the maximum height requirement for a proposed senior apartment building. Just a couple of statements on this one. This one did receive a variance to the height for the senior apartment building in 2017. The building location has changed and the variance has reduced from 55 to 50 feet. So they are just back before the board as a formality, just to update the record. So, and we had a few calls on this one ahead of time. I just want to make it clear, this is not the site plan review. This is only to discuss the senior multifamily building, which the use is permitted outright. It's just a height variance. So, and I know Mr. Dinkins is recused from this matter, so we will need to split up the motions on the consent agenda. Now, I'm going to pause for a little bit, about 30 to 40 seconds, just to give the lag on the audio time to catch up and to allow the staff monitoring public input to let us know if there's anyone who is requesting a case to be removed. But before that, is there anyone on the board who wishes to have a case removed?
No.
All right, well, just sit tight. We'll see if the audio from public input comes in with information from there.
Hello, Rachel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I do believe there is a comment that came in by email on the Gonzalez Gardens case.
Is it an opposition statement or just a general comment?
It's I'm not positive exactly how I would classify it, but it does. There certainly are comments. Let me double check some other ones to see if those relate to that case.
Yeah, to be safe, we'll go ahead and just place it on the regular agenda, and we'll hear it in order of case number. And we'll bring it up and read that comment into the record at that time. So board members, case 2020-0025 for 1516 Garden Plaza, that has been requested to be moved to the regular agenda. So any motions on the consent agenda will be minus that case. But we'll give Andrew another minute or so just to see if anyone else sends in any comment on the other matters before we move on.
Okay, I'm checking to see if there are any hands raised in the queue to speak. I do have a few hands. If you would give me a moment to determine if they want to speak about any cases on the consent agenda.
Sure, take your time.
Okay.
So, and just, I appreciate your all's patience on Zoom, just with that lag. As people hit *3 to get into the queue to speak, it doesn't always say what case they're in the queue for. So Andrew's just checking to see before we make a motion that we're in the clear to move on.
Hello?
Hello, this is
Hello.
Andrew Livingood. I can hear you. What case are you calling about?
I'm
Andrew,
calling
we can
about
hear
the gas station at Broad River, and you have at the corner of Bush River and Broad River. But I better know that it's Lake Murray Boulevard. Is that the same thing?
No, there are two separate cases. The one, right, the one at Bush River is actually closer to Dutch Square Mall. So that's the one
Right.
that's on the consent agenda.
I'm
you're calling about
the Broad River and Lake Murray Boulevard.
Okay, so I will go ahead and end your speaking session, but do go ahead and press *3 when we're done, and I will know that that is the case you're associated with.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, great.
And Andrew, I don't know if you can hear me. We can hear the phone audio as you're testing them.
Hello, Rachel.
Yes.
Okay, I'm still working away. It takes a little while to make it through each individual person, so I apologize for that delay.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know we can hear them.
And you can hear them. Okay, well, in that case, that is fine. So
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I was just,
okay, that is great. Okay. And my screen, I'm sorry, is hello. Are you calling about a case on the consent agenda?
Yes, I'm calling about the property on Lake Murray Boulevard and Broad River. This is Mayor
Okay,
Boyle.
Okay, that case is later on the agenda, but I will write down your number in association with that case.
Okay.
Okay, I will end your speaking session. Press *3 to get back in the queue to speak.
Do what now?
Hello, can you hear me?
So thank you all for your patience. This will make it quicker when we get to the regular agenda because now he'll know which case everyone's holding for. So.
Hi, Rachel.
Yes.
That does conclude all the hands that were raised in the queue. So that would just leave that one email that
For
is
Gonzalez Gardens.
for Gonzalez Gardens. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
All right. So that concludes any public comment for the consent agenda. The only case, just due to emails that came into the COC board meeting, which has been removed from the consent agenda, is the Garden Plaza, formerly Gonzalez Garden site. So the remainder of the cases are to be voted on. So in any motion, just make a reference that item number 7 of the consent agenda is not part of the motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the consent agenda minus item 7, case 2020025-B, as submitted by Ms. Bailey earlier in the meeting.
I
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're gonna have a roll call, Rachel, on the votes. Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, just to make sure.
Okay,
So Mr. Sally,
aye.
Mr. Dinkins,
Aye.
Mr. Primus,
You hear that?
Aye?
It was an aye.
That was
okay.
an aye?
Mr. Speed, Mr. Speed,
Aye.
all right. Miss Stevens,
Aye.
Mr. Schaefer,
Aye.
Mr. Gregory.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries.
Are we gonna take up Gonzalez Gardens next? Is that the plan?
That's up to you all. We could start with that one and take it up and before we move on.
Let's do
It
that.
was originally on the consent agenda.
Let's do that so it won't be stuck in the very end.
Okay. So this is just a breakdown of how kind of the regular agenda will work. Mr. Sally, we're going to use this following outline. So I will introduce the case. The applicant will have their 10 minutes to make a presentation. I'll be monitoring the time. The board can ask questions throughout the presentation like they normally do. And then we will have the public participation, which at this point is an email. And then we'll see if there's anything else that comes in while we discuss the case. Applicant will have their time for rebuttal, and then we'll take action by the board. So, and just bear with me for a second. This case, the slides are at the end of the slideshow. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'll bring it back up with the case slides on it.
Okay.
All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go through the list of participants and unmute the people I recognize that are here for that case. And if they want to just discuss the case while I kind of flip through the slides, we could do it that way. So, Adam, you have been unmuted. Christian,
Matt?
if any of the applicants want to unmute themselves for this, you're welcome to. I could see a couple of you, but if I missed anybody, there's Matt.
Matt needs to.
All right, I'm not able to unmute Matt, but
I'm there. Okay.
okay. All right, well, if you all just want to discuss just the basic application, and then if the board has any questions, and then we'll just read in the email that we received.
Rachel,
Rachel, should I do I proceed?
Broad River Road and Bush River Road.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. There we go. All right. You all are welcome. Applicants are welcome to begin at any time.
Rachel, you want me to go ahead and just make a quick summary?
Sure, Matt, that'd be great.
Yeah. Looking at what you're looking at on the screen, the original location of the building was in the bottom corner along Washington Street. That was where we applied for the higher variance and it was approved. In reworking some of the site, we've ended up moving the same building up in the upper left-hand corner. It'll now be at the corner of Forest and Millwood.
You can kind of see it here.
What
So
happens with
apologize.
this piece? What happens with this piece of property? There's a tremendous drop along the whole site of Gonzales Gardens when you get to the Millwood end of the property. And so it's a 3-story building, but it's the west side of the building, or the side that kind of runs parallel to Millwood, which is kicking in this request for the variance. And so that's what we're requesting for this particular building.
Any questions from the board? I recall this case, I'm not sure exactly when we passed it. We passed the variance height once before, and my understanding from Ms. Bailey is that we're doing this based on the fact that they changed the location of the
Correct.
building, but they've also reduced the height, my understanding, by about 5 feet from the previous variance. Is that right?
Yes, a
Correct.
variance was granted in, I believe it was July of 2017 for 55 feet for the location. The previous location, this request is for 50 feet at the new location.
So is there anybody online that has would like to speak for or against this variance?
Andrew, could you read the email into the record if possible, please?
Yes, hi. The email, give me one moment and I will pull that up. Okay. Okay, this email is from Willa Martin Bailey. And it says, as a new homeowner on McDuffie Avenue, we were misled by CHA in regards to the proposed low-income housing that is planned for the site versus a mixed income and commercial retail services is unacceptable. The senior building will be our only salvation since we know the crime issues that will occur with the proposed voucher/housing plan. Mungo should not be viewed as a private partner. They are actually a supplier. We are very disappointed with the proposed low-income plan versus a plan similar to the former Klein Steel site. Willa Martin Bailey, daughter of the late T.S. Martin. And that concludes the email.
Thank you. Was anybody on the line for this case?
I have, let's see, I've tried to sort by the hands raised. I have two callers that I have not previously spoken with. So I will attempt to speak with them.
Okay, yeah, we'll double check that. And then if the applicant wants to make a response, they're welcome to before we move on to board action.
Okay.
While
I will try to.
while we're waiting, I got kicked off of the call just now while Andrew was reading that email, so I missed it.
Okay.
If he could read that again, or if somebody could tell me the gist of it. I heard the first 2 or 3 words of the sentence, and that's it.
Okay, I
The
can
main,
read it again.
yeah, if you don't mind, Andrew.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay. So it reads, as a new homeowner on McDuffie Avenue, we were misled by CHA in regards to the proposed low-income housing that is planned for the site versus a mixed income and commercial/retail services is unacceptable. The senior building will be our only salvation since we know the crime issues that will occur with the proposed voucher/housing plan. Mungo should not be viewed as a private partner. They are actually a supplier. We are very disappointed with the proposed low-income plan versus a plan similar to the former Klein Steel site. Willa Martin Bailey, daughter of the late T.S. Martin.
So, and that statement is kind of to the site plan as a whole,
Mhm,
which I
mhm.
mentioned at the beginning is
Mhm.
this is just limited to the senior building.
Andrew, was that last sentence, was that similar to the Klein Iron Steel site? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay, that's the one on UG Street.
Yes.
I can continue to check the callers that have their hands raised.
Yes, please. And just let us know if anyone else wants to speak. Thank you. So, and while we're waiting, I also just wanted to say if anyone was on the consent agenda that passed, you're welcome to leave the call if you'd like. You don't have to stay on for the whole time unless you really want to.
Okay, Rachel, I do have a caller.
Okay.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Chase Toller. I live on McDuffie Avenue, and I purchased one of the 8 single-family homes that was constructed on the Gonzales Gardens site. Just over the course of the last 9 months since I moved in, I've had a number of problems with the Columbia Housing Authority's handling of the site redevelopment here. And there has been a shift in the way in which they intend to use the site, including the senior apartments that are intended to go on the corner of of Forest Drive and Millwood. When we were originally looking at the homes here, we were told that the neighborhood was going to be mixed use and mixed income levels. And that was going to contribute to a safer neighborhood and one that, we would feel comfortable living in. And since then, the tone is shifted, and it looks like the entire site is going to be lower income. And we find that particularly concerning since many of us here purchased our homes with the understanding that the site in back of our homes was going to be developed into mixed use properties, as well as the senior living facility. So I would just ask the board to take that into consideration. The word that we were given originally when we moved in was not kept, and I think that there needs to be additional scrutiny given to all of these plans before any additional construction takes place. As things are shifted around to meet Columbia Housing Authority's needs, it comes at a cost to the residents that are already in the community. And I would just ask that they consider that and vote against approving this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that the only caller, Andrew?
It does appear to be. I'm going to double check again real quick. There are no additional callers with their hands raised, and I do not see any new comments or emails.
All right, thank you. I do just want to reiterate that this request is, again, just for the senior building. Site plan review will be conducted by the Planning Commission, and some of the comments we're receiving, there's some overlap with what the Planning Commission would discuss. So, but I do just want to let the callers know, and just anyone listening, that this will go before Planning Commission for site plan review. I think it may have gone previously, but if there are changes, it'll have to go back. So just putting that out there. And if the applicant would like to discuss anything, have their rebuttal, they're welcome to. They have 5 minutes for that.
Yeah, Rachel, this is Adam with Columbia Housing.
Yes, hi Adam.
Hey, we at Columbia Housing would really like the board to know, and everybody there at the city to know, that we are being totally transparent with this entire development. We've been engaging all citizens, all the residents around there. This is a common theme that the 8 single-family houses have been bringing up. We explained to them that it was never promised, never put in writing anything with the overall plan, what was going to happen. Sure, we would all like to have a mixed use, but we have no money. And so we're going after tax credits. And if we change the way we're doing it to mixed income, there will be close to almost a $3 to $4 million gap. Now, if those 8 homeowners would like to pony up, that's great. Right now, this is the only way to make this project work. It's all going to be different than what you ever seen in Columbia, thanks to Matt and his team. And as you said, Rachel, that this is a height variance, not an overall plan. And I just want to guarantee you guys that we are engaging with the community and the residents to listen to them and try to meet their needs as much as we can. Thank you. Matt, if you have anything else.
No, that's good, Adam. I appreciate that. We're just looking for the board's comments on the height. And I know the site issue and the use is that's another topic. So,
right. Thank you, Matt.
This is Cindy Herrera. I'm the Senior Vice President for Development with Columbia Housing. And as Adam stated, we have been engaged with the neighborhood organization for several months now and have taken their feedback. But again, this particular presentation today deals strictly with the height variance for the senior building. And the senior building, has been a key component of this. It will provide much needed housing for the low-income seniors in the Columbia community. We are continuing to engage with the residents and are continuing to work with them to solicit as much feedback as we can to be able to meet as many needs as possible. Obviously, the goals of Columbia Housing and our mandate is to provide affordable housing for the citizens of the city of Columbia, and we will continue to do that. We are not a private developer, therefore we do not do high-end luxury housing, and there is definitely a need for affordable housing. We will continue to work with the neighborhood to try to accommodate the best that we can within those parameters. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I have banked you all 2.5 minutes left. Andrew just messaged me. There is one more public comment. So I'll let him patch that through, and then I'll let the applicants finish their 2.5 minutes that were left of their rebuttal time.
Hi, Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and actually I may have 2 more comments. There is one new raised hand, but the first was a comment through the site, and it reads as such. As a member of Dreher High School from 1998 through 2002, I attended school with many students who resided at Gonzales Gardens. At this point, the city stated that they would rebuild new low-income housing. This was promised to the residents at that time. Thank you.
Oh,
Christina McEntee Miles.
Kind of positive feedback.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And if you want to check the other one and just let us know if that one's for this case before we finish up.
Yes, yeah, and now there are 2 new ones. So let's see. Hello, do you have a comment about the case currently before the board?
Okay. All right. Hi.
Okay, Rachel, I do have another caller.
Okay.
Hi. This is Willa Martin Bailey. Just moved back to Columbia after 50 years. delighted to have moved to the city to support the city. Certainly understand planning, community development, and economic development. You know, I just don't understand how Richland County and the city of Columbia can come together and form a partnership. But, you know, for us, the minority community, we get, you know, HUD money. So we need to reevaluate the whole low-income housing process. You know, poverty is profitable, and we need to get out of that mindset. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Andrew?
And this may be a good opportunity to remind people to mute the audio on their computers if they are calling and streaming the video. So it looks like hold on, okay, sorry, that's just a transcription of what just came in. There is a comment. There are two comments that do not have names attached. I will encourage them.
Or go ahead and read them.
Okay. So the first comment well, basically says that how do we comment? The case is that they are muted. But the other one says that they wanted to note that the Zoning Board of Appeals sign on the site listed a meeting time of 10 a.m. this morning.
Yes, there
And that other residents
yes, we cleared that up
and-
with the majority of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So yes, unfortunately, a few posters had the correct date, but still said 10 a.m. So we fielded some calls this morning and got it sorted out. So it's just my inspectors getting used to the new time. So is there any other comment, Andrew?
I do not see any additional comments.
All right. Does the applicant have anything further they want to add before we?
No, thank you. I think we've commented anything we needed to say. Again, just keeping in mind that this is the variance for the height for the senior building.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, so anybody on the board have any comments or questions for the applicant?
No comment.
No comment.
I would like to make a motion then that we approve this request for a variance based on the written application and oral testimony of the applicant. They have, I think, proven that they have qualified for this variance and of course subject to any comments or stipulations in the application by staff.
Second.
Okay, Bailey would like to roll call a vote.
All right, Mr. Sally.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Dinkins is not voting on this one. He's recused. Mr. Primus,
Aye.
Mr. Speed,
Aye.
Ms. Stevens,
Aye.
Mr. Schaefer,
Aye.
Mr. Gregory.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. So, and bear with me. I'm going to go back to where we were before to start the rest of the regular agenda.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, any of the applicants for that case are welcome to leave the call if they'd like.
Thank you.
All right, the next
Can
item
imagine
on
how it
the
would.
agenda is case 2020-0017 for 2326 Lincoln Street. This is TMS 09012-1302. A variance to the maximum lot coverage requirement for an accessory storage structure. I believe Miss Merriweather was on here. I will find her and unmute her, or she is welcome to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. This is
Hi
Mimi
there.
Merriweather. Hey.
Hey, go ahead. If you want to discuss your case, I'll move through the slides at the same time.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Currently, we live in Elmwood Park, historic Elmwood Park, and we have a dilapidated corrugated metal structure in the back left-hand corner of our yard. And we would like to replace that with something that is more current. Again, it would be an outbuilding, just a storage shed without any water. It would just be a good place to store kayaks, bicycles, whatever we need to put back in there. What we would like to build is slightly larger than what is there. The current lot coverage, my understanding, it only allows for a 30% lot coverage, and what we would like to build is going to be in the same location, but we need 37% of the lot coverage. And it will be a single-story structure. And architecturally, it will model the historic elements in our home at the front of the property.
And just to clarify, it's 34 that you all will need, not 37.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So 4% variance, not much at all.
All right.
Any questions from the board before we go to open it up for comment?
I do have a question. So would the variance be required? I guess this is a question for Rachel. Given the existing lot coverage, so given the size of the existing storage building on the lot, if the applicant were to build a storage building that was the same square footage, would that still require a variance in this condition, or is the variance triggered because they want to build a larger structure?
One would be needed either way. Just instead of a 31 or 32, it goes to 34.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is that about the increased square footage is somewhere around 2 to 3%.
Yeah, it's not exponentially larger.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any comment from the public?
Andrew, do we have anyone waiting for comment on this one?
I have not seen any yet. I am scrolling through just to double check, but it does not appear as such.
Okay.
I will confirm when I'm done scrolling through.
Awesome, thanks.
No, there are no comments that have been left, and there are no new hands raised to comment.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Does the board have anything further?
Any further questions? Does the lot coverage, just real quick, does the lot coverage, go back to the photo here, is that inclusive of the impervious patio that's in front, or is it just the under roof part, Rachel?
It's anything covered, so anything with a roof. So if a patio is not covered, just open concrete or open stuff, that does not count as large.
I'd like to say, I do think it's a huge improvement over the existing structure. It's a very nice looking building, and you know, I'll be glad to make a motion, and then if we have further discussion, we can have more discussion before we vote on it. But I would like to make a motion that we approve this request for a variance based on the written application and oral testimony today, subject to the stipulations in staff, and that it would, you know, substantially conform with the rendering that was provided to us in the application.
Chuck, I'd like to make, this is Gene, I'd like to make one quick comment. As you look at an overhead aerial photo of the property, it appears to sit fairly close to the front setback line or the front property line. I'm not sure if there is a setback line, excuse me. It appears to sit fairly close to front property line. So why I bring that up is, although they're asking for an increased percentage of lot coverage, if you look at this aerial photo, there's a very good sized, fairly large backyard. So I simply state the fact that although we're being asked to increase the coverage here, I think they have the room for it due to the unusual circumstance that this dwelling sits awfully close to the street. So I would be in favor of your motion, and I think it's appropriate and would be an improvement for the site.
Good comment. Thanks, Gene.
I have a question for the applicant. Can y'all hear me?
Hi, yes.
Hi, Ms. Merriweather, this is from memory. I can't pull up the application on my iPad right now, but question number one asks about extraordinary and exceptional circumstances. And I read your answer to say that you are limited to the zoning laws and guidelines of the neighborhood, which everyone else in the area is also subject to. And then the second question, which is circumstances that do not generally apply, I believe you agree in your application these requirements apply to everyone in your neighborhood. So is there some other information? I mean, and I could go through them all because it looks to me the only criteria you meet are numbers 4 and 6 for why this is an extraordinary and exceptional circumstances as a reason we should grant this.
I wouldn't call this extraordinary or exceptional. I'm simply asking for a very small 4% variance to replace a very outdated corrugated metal structure that has very limited visibility, Jenna, from the lots or from the street. And we are just trying to get through the appropriate zoning committee and requirements that are stipulated. I would hope any neighbors in our neighborhood would adhere to the same procedures, which I'm aware that there are some that do not. So we're just simply asking for this so we can move ahead with the building process. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not, but this is something that all people in our historic Elmwood Park should do when they're applying to build something, I would assume.
Yeah, sure, it absolutely is. And, you know, I personally may think what you're doing is not offensive if you were my neighbor, but our obligation as board members is to apply these criteria evenly and objectively to all applicants. And the standard for a variance is higher than for special exceptions, and it requires extraordinary and exceptional circumstances. And I'm concerned, looking through your application, I'm concerned that you're candid here that there is not anything exceptional about your lot. And that in and of itself does not meet the requirements for a variance.
Jenna, I'll let that up to the board to decide. We can live with what we have, and if you all deny it, I can.
I would like to say, I think that's really a more appropriate question for board discussion. Really, I mean, it's not really a question. It's a statement that she does not. You're saying that you don't believe her application meets extraordinary and exceptional conditions, which I think is fair for you to say, but I don't really think that's a question of the applicant. I think that's part of what the board should be discussing.
Right, because we were denied the permit when I went in to apply for that and working with Carlos Hart of Isle Construction, and we were told that it was 4% larger than the shed that was there when we built or when we bought the home 14 years ago. That shed has been there for probably 20 plus years. So again, we're just trying to follow the city ordinances and to do what I would expect of any other neighbor in historic Elmwood Park.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor, and I'd like to make sure that everybody has a chance to make any point they'd like to before I ask for a second. But understand, Shannon, what your point there. I do believe, and I think that Gene made a good point that there are some circumstances that we could consider extraordinary based on the location of the house, the size of this backyard, et cetera, and location of the structure that wouldn't pertain to other properties. But I guess that's each of our own opinion, and we'll all have to decide whether that meets the criteria or not. But I do also think that it's a betterment of the property, and it definitely helps the neighborhood from standpoint of architectural, as opposed to a metal building. That's very nice looking structure. And my motion does require that the structure be in substantial conformance with the rendering that was provided to us. So, any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I'll just say that I completely agree with Jenna about this application not actually rising to the level of meeting extraordinary and exceptional conditions or having a unique condition that doesn't apply to any other property. I would feel more comfortable if the applicant was just rebuilding a structure that was exactly the same size and footprint that's there. But they're not doing that. They want a larger one. And while I think that it is an improvement aesthetically, I don't think that's enough reason to say that it's okay for them to not have met the criteria. So that's all I need to say.
Okay. Does anybody else want to make a comment? If not, would anybody else like to second my motion?
I'll second your motion, Chuck. This is Gene, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Bailey, would you like to call roll?
Sure. Mr. Sally?
Aye.
Mr. Dinkins?
Aye.
Mr. Primus?
Aye.
Mr. Speed? Mr. Speed?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Hello.
Ms. Stevens?
Nay.
Mr. Schaefer?
I'm no.
Mr. Gregory?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. All right, Ms. Merriweather, thank you. You're welcome to leave the call if you'd like now that your case is completed.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next case, the next two cases are actually for the same location. It's case 2020 0022 and case 2020 0016. The reason 2020 0022 is first is because it has to pass for the other one to be applicable. This is for 118 South Edisto Street, TMS 113101412. This is a variance to the maximum lot coverage requirement for an attached carport. 2020 0016 is a variance to the side yard setback for an addition to the single family residence of the carport. The applicant's welcome to discuss both at the same time since they relate, but it will require two separate motions with the lot coverage motion coming first. So I believe Ms. Wallace is on the call. She is welcome to unmute herself and begin her presentation. Or I will unmute her. Ms. Wallace, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And hey, Rachel, kudos to all of you for doing this. I know this is challenging, so thank you for putting all this together and for all you've done. First of all, I guess I'll start by saying we purchased an older home last October at 118 South Edisto. It had been a rental house for about 15 to 20 years, and it was very outdated. It had a small kitchen. It had 3 bedrooms and only 1 bathroom. And it didn't have anywhere to store lawn or gardening equipment, which I'm sure was because it had been a rental. So we've built a very attractive shed in the backyard to house all of those items and also to keep the yard clutter-free and visually appealing. And we're seeking approval to finish completion of a carport that will allow for covered parking. I'm sorry? It'll allow for covered parking for 2 cars and another car to park behind those. And that street is already very congested with cars. So one of our goals is to avoid additional vehicles having to park on what's already a crowded street. And we've been working very carefully and diligently to improve the exterior as well as the interior of the property while maintaining integrity and character of the neighborhood, because these upgrades will not only enhance the property value of our house, but also of the surrounding houses in the neighborhood. As a result of the improvements, excuse me, and upgrades, the lot coverage is now at 33%. So that's the request for the variance. That's the first one I believe that's on the agenda.
Yes.
Did you want to keep talking about
Yes,
the carport?
you can discuss both together.
Okay. So we decided to do a carport instead of a garage. And this is, I think, in the packets, because really there's so many carports in that neighborhood. So it was more in keeping with the area. As a result, I just described it, but as a result, we need the 5-foot setback variance to complete because we've already got 2 vehicles. So, and as far as the structure, it's going to match the house. Everything about the carport will match the existing house. And the shed will match the addition that we're doing to the house.
So, and just for clarity's sake, it is a request for 33% lot coverage. And then it's a request to reduce the side yard setback from 5 feet to 2 feet for the carport. And a couple board members had asked me prior to the meeting, the accessory structure in the rear addition were permitted. The carport was not permitted. So that's what brought this case before the board.
My understanding is it was approved by the original plans, excuse me.
When the plans were submitted.
When the plans were submitted, they were approved.
It wasn't listed on the printed permit. So there was some discrepancy there.
Any questions from the board before we go to public input?
We're discussing this, Chuck, we're discussing this in 2 different cases, right? Right now we're just talking about lot coverage, correct? Okay.
Well, we'll vote. We're discussing both of them at the same time, but we'll vote on the lot coverage by the setback. Is that correct, Ms. Bailey?
It made sense to just, because I mean, there's such an overlap with the cases. The lot coverage is because of the carport. The setback is because of the carport. The applicant was discussing both. So you all are welcome to discuss both and ask questions related to both. But yes, Mr. Sally's correct. It'll just require 2 separate motions.
Do we have any public input on this?
While Andrew is checking to see if there's any public input for 118 South Edisto, I do have one email that came in yesterday afternoon in the COC board meeting email. It was just after we had published the packet. So I will read it into the record. It's from Miss Susan James. And some of it is just questions that we were able to answer, but then she does have just some input on the cases as well. Her email reads, do we have enough information about the construction of this carport? Shouldn't we ask for details about building materials of columns, flooring, and outer wall, how high, if at all, and whether a driveway is to be paved, and if so, with what material, and whether it will continue into the carport? As it stands, the roof line is very shallow and does not match the slope of the house's roof line. It seems dinky for this house. Do residents deserve a comment on that? I am not opposed to granting an exception for the clearance on the north property line, as there are examples all over the Hollywood Rose Hill neighborhood of this having happened in the long ago. But I would very much want the addition of the carport to look like it was built long ago rather than look like a new, modern, tacked-on addition. Material should be of similar quality and design, should be complementary to the mass of the home and its roof line. I have no opposition to the 3% addition to the allowed 30% coverage of the lot. Neighbors are very pleased that this house is being renovated and that it will, we hope, soon house a family. We appreciate the builder's efforts to update the interior and to make it attractive to modern family living. Perhaps the addition of a carport is done for marketing purposes, but in my opinion, if it will look awkward in its design or cheap in its construction, then it would be better to have no carport. Susan James. So, and staff did let Ms. James know just that this is not an area that triggers design development review or a certificate of design approval. So materials and everything like that are not delegated. So, and I also do want to state just a stop work order was issued. So this is not the finished product of the carport. So Andrew, did you have any comments?
I do not have any comments, and I do not see any callers wishing to speak on the matter.
Thank you. Ms. Wallace, do you want to comment on anything from Ms. James? Do you have
I will add, thanks. I will add that there will be 4 6x6 treated posts in the carport that will be wrapped with 1x8 painted white wood to match the existing trim, and will be a concrete pad under the carport. And the shingles will match, everything will be the same in the trim work.
Thank you.
We're still waiting on Andrew.
He did not have any new comments.
No comments. Okay. Did the board have any questions for the applicant?
I did. Ms. Wallace, do you have the application in front of you with the criteria? I'm looking at numbers 1, 2, and 3, and I was wondering if you could address those a little bit more about what makes your property extraordinary and exceptional, how it does not apply to other people near you, and if the requirements about this application, how do they effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict using your property?
Is this question about the carport and the coverage, or just one?
Yes, both.
All right. I guess like the lady before me, I don't know that it's extraordinary, but I do think that the request, as I mentioned, for carport is that, there are carports all over the neighborhood, and all we're asking for really is just the setback. As far as the look of the carport, we've worked very hard. Again, you can't tell because there was a stop order issued, so it doesn't look very attractive in this photo at all. but the goal is to have it match the house, and the house is going to be painted, and therefore the carport post will be painted as well. And really, to me, it's keeping the same look of the neighborhood. It's just improving the house. And as I mentioned, keeping the cars off the street.
I did have an opportunity to drive through there. I wanted to take a look at that, and there are a lot of similar type carports, similar type setbacks in that neighborhood that were done prior to, I guess, the lot coverage ratio requirements, et cetera. You know, it looks like that that driveway. I do have one question for the applicant, Ms. Wiles. Was that it's going to be? Is it gravel? What's the rest of the drive going to be going from the road to the?
It will be concrete.
So the whole drive is going to be concrete. I wasn't sure. I thought it was just underneath the covered area.
Just one second. It'll be. I believe it's all concrete. I'm asking just to make sure I'm right.
We'll have two concrete like that and gravel in between, and then the carport.
We have this very sophisticated drawing here, if you can see it, where we'll have two strips of concrete with gravel in the middle.
From the street.
From the street.
To the carport.
To the carport.
Gotcha.
River Rock.
River Rock, excuse me.
Any other discussion from the board?
Yeah.
You know, this one.
You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You know, this one I struggle with a little bit more just because the setback. I mean, lot coverage too, but really the setback. But my feeling is that, you know, it's a carport encroaching into the setback and not a living unit, like not a bedroom or anything like that, not a bathroom. So that's just kind of the way I'm looking at this. Just giving my thoughts.
Well, let me interject quickly. This is Gene. Are we not discussing this? This is two separate matters, and I know we're discussing it all at once, but right now we're only discussing the lot coverage percentage, correct? Or voting on the lot coverage percentage.
Right. If we have a motion.
So anyway, John. Yes. So I hear you, John. Let's save that one for the next one, I guess would be the point.
Was a motion made? I thought it was still.
No, there has not been a motion made.
Okay.
And I thought we were discussing both at the same time, are we not?
I thought we were, yeah.
Yeah, if a motion is made for one, then we'll limit discussion to that one. But right now, I think it was just a discussion of both.
Understood. Okay. My apologies. Understood.
No problem.
Yeah. I would argue on the first issue, which is the lot coverage, that the application doesn't really make a compelling case for an extraordinary or exceptional condition. I don't think that because other houses have carports answers that question sufficiently. And that the conditions that would govern the lot coverage issue don't apply to other properties. They do. There's no question about that. Nor does the absence of the carport prohibit or unreasonably restrict the applicant's use of the property. So for me, for the first issue of lot coverage, the application to me doesn't rise to the threshold for items 1 through 3. For the property line variance, I would argue also that it does not meet the threshold for number 4, which is describe the ways in which the granting of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent parcels or to the public good. I also did go out to this one and am very familiar with this neighborhood. And while I would also agree that there's a higher level of density between side yard setbacks in this neighborhood than most, that this particular carport would probably be an exception and the most one of the closest cases. Yeah, particularly when you take into account the large growth tree that exists between the carport and the existing two-story, I guess that's a duplex or quadruplex, I'm not really sure. That is uncomfortably close. And if I were the property owner of that adjacent building, I would be uncomfortable with an addition that close to my structure.
George, I think you bring up a good point regarding the proximity of the new structure to the property line and encroaching into the accessory buildings structure setback line. We've looked at a lot of these cases in the past, and one thing that we've always said as a board, or we've said a couple of times recently, is somebody has been trying to do this with an existing structure where they've simply been modifying it or expanding it in a different direction, and they've came to us and said, look, the footprint is in the same location. It's been here for a long time. It may predate the zoning code, not sure if it does or not, but because it had been there before, we granted them a little more leniency than a new construction situation. In this particular case, I agree, George. If I am the owner of the adjacent dwelling over there, and you're gonna, well, first let me back up just a little bit. The lot coverage doesn't really bother me because it is near the Shandon area where you see this all the time, and it's a small increase. I'm okay with that, but I totally agree with you. If you're the owner of that adjacent structure, to allow a new carport to go up this close to the line and that close to their existing dwelling that's probably been there for a long time, I would not like that. I'm not comfortable with how close this is to the property line, and I would not be in favor of granting the second item here regarding the encroachment over the setback line. I think it's too close for new construction.
Is anybody else? Comment? If not, would anybody like to make a motion?
As to lot coverage.
Yes, as to lot coverage.
I'll make a motion that we approve the item for this property regarding the lot coverage percentage.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second.
Would you mind amending that to include staff comments?
Absolutely. Like to make a motion that we approve the lot coverage requirement for this property, including all staff comments.
Thank you.
I second that.
All right, Mr. Sally,
Aye.
Mr. Dinkins,
Aye.
Mr. Primus,
Aye.
Mr. Speed,
Aye.
Ms. Stevens,
No.
Aye.
You only get one.
I heard you, Jenna.
That was a neat trick.
Mr. Schaefer,
No.
Mr. Gregory.
Aye.
Hey, did you get my eye? This is Josh.
I did.
Twice.
Sorry, I had my Bluetooth headphones in and it just died, so I didn't know it died right when you asked me.
We got it. All right. And I'm going to check with Andrew just one more time before the second motion. Andrew, was there anything that popped in on this case?
Hi, I do not see any hands raised in the speaking queue, nor do I see any comments from the community in the comment feed.
Thank you very much. All right. So the second matter is case 2020-0016, and that is for the reduction of the setback from 5 feet to 2 feet.
I'll just before we do anything, just give everybody a chance if anybody else wants to make any further comment about the setback before we vote. I'll go to the motion. Hearing none, I would like to make a motion that we approve the request for the setback, subject to staff's comments in the application. Is there a second? I don't hear a second. Would somebody like to make another motion?
I would. I'd like to make a motion that we deny the setback encroachment for this particular property.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second on the table. Ms. Bailey, would you like to take the roll call?
All right, Mr. Sally,
Aye. I mean, no, excuse me.
Mr. Dinkins,
Aye.
Mr. Primus,
Aye.
Mr. Speed,
No, sorry on the second. I'm having some technical difficulties over here.
I think I got it. Did you say no?
Yes, I said no. Sorry, I was trying to second Mr. Sally earlier, and I'm having some technical issues over here.
Okay.
But yes, no.
Okay, Ms. Stevens,
Yes, the motion is to deny, right?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
it gets confusing. Mr. Schaefer
I know with the negatives.
Aye.
and Mr. Gregory.
Oh, man. Gene's testimony won me over. Aye.
All right, motion to deny passes 5-2. All right, the final case on the agenda is case 2020-0023. This is at the intersection of Broad River Road and Lake Murray Boulevard. It is TMS 05000302. It is a special exception to permit a gasoline service station and a convenience store. As you all know on these, we discussed them together, but the way the code has it is you do have to make a motion on the gasoline service station and on the convenience store. Before we get started, I do just want to again mention that some of the postings this month did say Tuesday, May 7th at 10. So there was some discrepancy on there. We were able to clear it up with some of the neighborhoods and the people that called, but I know there are some people who are upset that the posters did say that. It meets our notice requirements as it had the case number, the applicant, and the address listed. Our notice requirements do not go into specifics as to date and time. So I'm comfortable with moving forward on the case. The applicant's been made aware as well, but I do know there will be some public comment related to the postings. So I just wanted to let you all know ahead of time. So, and I have our, hold on one second, sorry. So per our rules and procedures, the posting goes on the property at least 15 days prior to the hearing. The notice contains description of each matter to be heard, the applicant, and the property affected. So it did have today's date on it. So, but there was the posters have the previous information printed on them and it wasn't all crossed out. So it was confusing. So, but again, the applicant has been made aware. They're on the call and they are welcome to begin discussing their case.
Okay, this is Tom Britt, HB Engineering. I'm the site engineer for the project. The applicant is also in my office at a safe distance. The application, we hope is thorough concerning the 8 criteria for the special exception. I would like to stress a few of the items in more detail. Concerning traffic, a complete traffic impact study was performed, submitted to the DOT, and accepted and approved by the DOT. From that, we are proposing a new left turn lane on Lake Murray Boulevard and a right turn deceleration lane. And that will be the only access into the property. There were issues on Broad River Road, and until Broad Road is improved, there will not be access on Broad River Road. There's also an existing left turn lane if you're going westward on Broad River Road to be able to turn left onto Lake Murray Boulevard. So no improvements needed there. Traffic study did not recommend any other improvements. On the environmental impacts, I want to stress that the exterior lights will be restricted by the city's requirements as far as the height and required to be directed downward. Noise, the operation hours will be 6 a.m. to approximately midnight, be the latest they're open. All deliveries will be during regular business hours. There will be no night deliveries. As to the impact to the appearance of the area, this is part of Harbison and is subject to Harbison Group's full architectural requirements. Also, the Harbison Group requires minimum 20-foot buffer along the roads and a 10-foot buffer along the adjacent property to the side. Their buffer requirements require the owner to keep as much existing vegetation as possible. And the existing vegetation is a combination of large pine trees and other hardwood trees. So it's going to be substantially screened by that. If the existing vegetation doesn't meet the exact planting count, then additional trees will have to be planted along with additional shrubbery. In addition to that, there is a existing natural buffer across Broad River Road next to the neighborhood. It's my understanding that is a permanent buffer. So with that, we answer any questions you may have.
And there was no traffic study. There wasn't a site plan. There wasn't a good, we didn't know. We had all those questions, and I think the applicant agreed to withdraw and come back and resubmit. Is that my recollection correct on that, Rachel?
The previous applicant, yes, correct. They had not really designed the property or studied the traffic at that point.
That was not the same application. Not the same.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Are you all seeing an error message pop up on the shared
I
screen?
am. It says move application away from the shared, move this box away from the shared application. And
You can't move the box. Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Continue. I'll see if I can make it work.
Okay, is there any questions from the board before we go to public input? Okay. So we're ready. Andrew, if there's public input.
Yes, Andrew, you're welcome to start, or I have a couple emails as well.
Well, we do have some people that are waiting on the line to speak.
Yeah,
so
you go ahead and do yours.
Okay. I'm going to start with the first caller right now. Give it a second. It does take a second.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Please state your name and then you can go ahead.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, Dave Grove, Executive Director, Harbison Community Association. Pardon my voice. We've been waiting for quite some time. But I also sent in an email, and you may have that on your screen. But our concern is that, and I don't disagree with the fact that you said that the city or the board followed the guidelines for posting. The problem is that the postings on Lake Murray and Broad River indicated 10 o'clock at City Hall, and we sent 107 letters to the residents of Forest 2 advising them that they had an opportunity to speak at the public hearing, which is going to be held today at 10 o'clock this morning at City Hall. Yesterday afternoon, we found out that there was not going to be a meeting at 10 o'clock. The meeting was going to be a virtual meeting. So we've not been able to get in touch with all the residents that live over at Forest 2 to tell them about this virtual meeting. So our specific request is that the board postpone the meeting, give us another opportunity to tell the residents about a future meeting so they can voice their concerns. Again, the city may or the board may have followed all the guidelines by giving 15 days notice. Unfortunately, that was not put on the posters on the street. And unfortunately, we did not know about it, and we did not have a chance to rectify the letter that had been sent to all of these residents. So we're asking again that the decision on this particular case be postponed for a future hearing at such time as we can notify the local residents to give them an opportunity to voice their concerns. You may have met your regulations by the city, but you've not met your regulations and obligations to the residents who live right across the street from where this facility wants to be built. And again, give us an opportunity to go back and tell these people about a future meeting, and we'll do that. So again, we're asking that the decision on this particular case be postponed. Give us a new date for a meeting, whether it be an actual meeting at City Hall or a virtual meeting, and we'll publicize that and give the residents an opportunity to speak. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So, and I do want to comment, we did hear from a few neighbors or citizens that lived in the neighborhood that received those letters. Unfortunately, the few I heard from thought they came from the city and not from the community association. So that kind of led to further confusion. I've tried to let anyone who's called know that those letters did not come from the city and to send them the correct meeting information. So
Yeah.
yes, the postings did have the 10 o'clock time on them.
Rachel, I got a question. Was there anything posted at City Hall stating that there was an error? If anybody showed up and given them the right correct time?
No. I think the agenda was posted, but there was no large sign to state it, but there were the signs. We got calls because, I mean, City Hall is closed. So, and it has signs that all of the city buildings are closed to the public and have been since March 17th.
Okay. I guess we go.
Well, again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank the board. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you much.
Again,
Appreciate
our
your input.
all right. Thank you, sir.
Do we have another caller, Andrew?
We do. I will give it just a few seconds. It does take a few seconds to connect.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, please state your
Hello.
name and you're welcome to comment from there.
Okay, my name is Fernando Williams, and I live in the neighborhood adjacent to where you're trying to build this convenience store. I sent you an email, and I'd just like to concur with the prior caller about the lack of notification or ineffective notification. Also, I've been trying to email you from the email address presented on your website, which is also wrong. It says boards, and I finally took the S off of boards and sent it in, and it went through. But as I stated in my email, and I heard the gentleman say that they did a traffic study. Well, I live in this neighborhood, and you know, it's very difficult to get out of this neighborhood as it is with the traffic situation that currently exists. And I'm sure you're all aware that there's work on the I-Corridor to improve Malfunction Junction. And I've gone to several of those meetings, and to my understanding, that's when they get that in place, it's also going to increase traffic on Broad River Road and Lake Murray Boulevard. There's a high percentage of people that live in Lexington that work in this area, and they use Lake Murray Boulevard to commute back home and to work. And we just don't need, you know, an added burden of traffic to what already exists. And we just had a convenience store built right down the street from us. There are numerous convenience stores and gas stations in this area. The residents of this neighborhood and adjacent neighborhoods, we don't need any more convenience stores or gas stations in this area. When we purchased homes in Harbison, we thought we were getting homes in residential areas, not, you know, to be something to be commercialized, you know, like that has gone on the upper end of Broad River Road and created all kinds of problems and property depreciation on that end of Broad River Road. I just want to express my concerns for this. You know, when you have a convenience store, they sell alcohol and other paraphernalia that attract their customers there, and that creates problems for, you know, those of us in the residential neighborhoods. So I ask that you give great consideration to this and deny this business from coming here. You know, thank you.
Thank you. That was 3 minutes. All right, Andrew, do we have some more?
Yes. Again, just wait a few seconds for this next call to connect.
Yes, hello?
Hello, please state your name and then you're welcome to get going on your comments.
I appreciate that. Hi, my name is Raymond Lord. I hope this correspondence finds you well. I sent you guys an email. I heard him talking about the problems with the email addresses, so I just changed it and resent it. But you know, my name is Raymond Lord, and I live at 149 Foxglove Circle. I would like to voice my concerns about the above referenced project, the project being the one we're discussing now. I've lived in Harbison community my entire life for 37 years. I grew up on Whitwood Circle, and my parents still live there. I now own a home on Foxglove Circle. I graduated from Harbison West Elementary School, Irma Middle School, Irma High School, Middle Technical College. The reason I give you this background information is to help you understand that I've seen this place change over a lot over the years. Much of it for better, but some not. And I believe this project would not be for the better. I would like to express my deep concern for the above reference project concerning gas station being built literally at the entrance of my neighborhood. This project should in no way be allowed to take place. If you were to Google how many gas stations, convenience stores there are within a few miles of the location,
you'll see the number is many more than what the applicant claims. That is not including grocery stores, pharmacies, and other businesses that sell the exact same products as the new proposed project would. Throughout the years, the traffic has gotten extremely bad for the area. Putting this project here would make it drastically worse. The applicant claims in section 17.112, item 1, that the proposed convenience store will not have an adverse impact on traffic. I believe that it would. When the Costco was built up there on Piney Grove Road, it had more traffic because they had to restructure the entire street. In section 17.11.12, item 5, applicant states that convenience stores do not like to be located in the same areas as other convenience stores whenever possible. Direct competition increases the chance of failure. It is extremely unlikely that other convenience stores would want to locate in the same area, and that the closest convenience store is located on Harbison Boulevard near Columbia Center. That is not true. They just built a new Murray Express right down the street, just a few blocks away. Past that, there's an Exxon down Broad River Road a little bit ways more. There's 2 other gas stations. There's gas stations in every direction. Let's see. I'm trying to touch the main highlights since we only have 3 minutes. If you want to see how many there are, you can Google it. Section 17.1.2, item 6. This is not a city project, but it is within Harbison. Since it's within Harbison, I believe that we, the Harbison people that live here, the residents, should have the final say. The item 7 in the same section, 17.11.12, they claim that a large residential area nearby that needs goods and service or goods sold without having to travel out of the area. That's not true. We have plenty of places that provide those same goods and services. According to them, it will fill a need not provided nearby. That again is untrue. We have plenty of those needs filled. Let's see, it says it will see item 8, section 117.112. Item 8, the project will enhance public interest by providing local residents with basic goods and having to travel without having to travel outside the area. Like I said, we don't have to travel outside the area. We just have to go a couple blocks down the street, any direction, and you can get just about anything you need.
Thank you, sir. That was the 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. But you guys should not allow this to go forward. You shouldn't. So.
Okay. Ready for the next caller?
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Johnson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I live in the Forest Harbison subdivision as well. My husband, my daughters, and myself would like to voice our concern over the building of a gas station and convenience store directly across from the entrance of our subdivision. I have 6 points I want to make real quickly. Our property value will decrease. That's going to decrease everybody's property once that is done, or if it's done. The traffic will increase and create even more potential for accidents that we've had plenty right in front of our entrance. It is already very difficult to make turns in and out of the neighborhood due to the traffic. School buses turn in and out of our neighborhood, making it unsafe for students and the bus drivers. We have teenagers and children who would, no doubt, even at their parents telling them not to do this, they will go across the street to the convenience store. It will happen. And that could be extremely dangerous, and it's a potential for a lawsuit. We have, as some of the other callers mentioned, we have 2 gas stations plus and convenience stores approximately 2 to 3 miles down from the entrance of this neighborhood. And there is absolutely no need for additional gas for convenience stores. We don't need this. There is potential for increased negative activities across the street with the loitering. And at any convenience store or gas station like that, people tend to gather and things can happen. If it's open to 12 at night, then no, that is just unacceptable. There's also potential for increased negative, also potential for other things to happen with our kids being involved with this. So we are respectfully asking that you deny this building of a gas station and convenience store. And like I said, I'm 100% sure that none of the folks that want to build it or any of you would like it if this was happening in front of the entrance of your neighborhood. I guarantee you would. So please make these concerns known to the persons that need to know it. And we're asking that you legitimately consider these concerns, as they are very legit. And again, this is Marilyn and Herbert Johnson, and we live on Periwinkle Court. And I thank you for that opportunity. And I will say, if I hadn't called this morning to the City Hall, I wouldn't have known that the meeting was at 4 p.m. because there was nothing. What we got from Harbison was just like Mr. Grove said, it's at 10 o'clock. And I made a special effort to start calling at that time, and that's when I found out. And yeah, we know that the place is closed, but when you get information that says you're going to be doing something at a particular time and it's virtual, or it's going to be on the second floor of the City Hall, then that's what we go by. So I agree that maybe other folks would like to make some more comments, and they should be allowed that opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I do have some more callers.
Okay.
Here's the next one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Johnny Barnett, and I live in a neighborhood that is affected. It was right across from the proposed entrance for the new service station convenience store location. And we kind of really find it odd. I can understand why someone would choose that location. And because the individual that spoke for the engineer that spoke said they did a traffic study and submitted it to DOT. And that's something I'll be trying in the future to get a copy of it to read it. The traffic is already, in no small terms, horrendous. In the morning and the evening time, it's almost like playing the game Frogger, trying to get out and get across. There's no red lights. There's no caution lights there in the morning. And anyone that lives in this area knows that going up Broad River Road in the morning, it's like being stuck in gridlock in Los Angeles, and the same thing in the evening time. Next of all, it's being built right here in Harbison, which is a residential area, and a lot of people bought their property here. And the gas station is not going to be a property enhancement. It's not going to be something that's going to lure people to the area. It does not benefit the community. It only benefits the individual that's building the property. If, as the gentleman from Harbison stated, that if more of the citizens had been aware of this meeting, and each one of us was granted 3 minutes, we would be on for hours, because the whole community would have been out and was prepared to come to let you know the citizens' objection. In this area, just Google gas station. There's more than enough gas station convenience stores in the area. It's something we do not need. It doesn't serve a purpose to benefit the neighborhood. It's only benefiting the builders, and it's going to be encompassing to the area. There's so many things that we ask you all just to really take a look at. And I ask you that if you're going to anywise considering voting on this today, I would like to propose, as the gentleman said from Harbison, that you all seriously consider, because of the confusion, rescheduling this agenda item to get more citizens to hear their outrage and really just being dumbfounded how someone could want to replace a convenience store there at the entrance there, with the traffic being the way it was. If it was a 4 or 6 lane road there, we are right at the junction of 2 high traffic areas. And the citizens in the neighborhood, I haven't met one yet that has not been in a disagreement that we do not need that service station there. We just ask you in this case to listen that we're citizens, we pay taxes, and that we don't have anyone to speak for our behalf but you guys on the zoning board. And please hear our cry for help. We do not need it. The public does not need it. It does not serve a needed benefit. There's not a need. Google gas station in this area. You come up with an 18 or 20 within 5 miles. It doesn't really serve a purpose except for the owner to make money, and there's going to cause the individual in the neighborhood traffic problems and more headache. I'm not going to use the crime pitch that most people see. I'm sure y'all have heard that it's going to bring the crime and other things. But I ask you all to look at it and to look at the reports there themselves and let them speak. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Kind of frustrated, but thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next caller will be connected shortly.
Hi, this is Cindy McEntee, Cindy Simons McEntee.
Hello.
I was calling to voice my concern for the building of a gas station across the street. We've been coming to all of these hearings over the years. Whenever someone has tried to build something that does not fit into our neighborhood. We, like the others, have been concerned about the notice with regard to this. The city's website is misleading with regard to zoning hearings. And the customer care persons don't really understand what is going on either. So there's been a lot of confusion with regard to this, and we have requested a postponement. If you are not inclined to do that, I would request that you please allow the neighbors an opportunity to submit additional comments if you are inclined to grant this variance. I'd just like to briefly state that this area has been our family's home since the federal government removed them from their home to expand Fort Jackson. It's been quite a long time. Both my father, his sister, and brothers began living in our old home on the adjacent property when they moved into this, shortly after moving into this area. Now, my mother and her neighbor are seniors, and they live here, and the city is now contemplating destroy what is left of the peace, quiet, safety, and enjoyment that they have been able to receive. We live on Lake Murray Boulevard, and we are opposed to having a store selling alcohol and attracting hundreds of people each day across the street from our home. There is no buffer that I know of between our home and the strip of land directly across the street. You just cross over the 2 lanes where we've already seen the increased level of traffic in this area. You just cross those 2 lanes and you're right there at that property. I agree with the opposition that was posted by Mr. Lewis and Ms. Ellsworth and the other comments. We know that this area is now becoming a high traffic area. It's unfortunate that the development that has occurred has not occurred in a way that would be conducive to us keeping our neighborhood as we would like. We'd like to maintain what is left of it and not have a convenience store, a gas station right across the street selling alcohol and paraphernalia. We are opposed to having delivery trucks rolling past the house all times of the day. And we are very disturbed that there will be an increase in the numbers of persons coming to an area immediately across the street from our house. There are numerous places. If anyone has ever been to this area, let me assure you that there are numerous places for you to go to get gasoline and anything else that you would hope to find at a convenience store.
Thank you, Ms. McEntee. That was the 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, and I do want to state, I received an email from Miss McEntee. I am sorry that customer care gave you incorrect information. They're in the water department. They don't always know our meeting information. So I'm sorry that that's the contact that you had, and it led to some confusion from water customer care.
Thank you.
Okay. I do, at this point, I just have one caller with their hand raised, but that is actually one of the callers that we've heard from before. There are some voicemails and there are some emails.
Okay, well, I have a couple emails and voicemails. There might be some overlap. Do you want me to go through mine first and see? Because I've been able to, some that called in also sent emails. So they've already kind of entered their information on the record. Do you want me to go through mine and then, or do you want to go through yours and I can see if they're duplicates?
Well, I can play the voicemails. You know, I have ones that are not duplicates for certain.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play the first voicemail.
Good afternoon. My name is Margarita Medvedik, and I live in the Harbison area, and I want to vote against the gas station, which is planned to build in front of entrance to Forest Living Community, for the reason because of we have a few new gas stations, half mile down on the road, just less than half mile in front of the Publix, and another one is renovated, remodeled on the Harbison Boulevard. So please be mindful and like listen the citizen voices, please. We don't need this gas station because it's too many already, and for environment, we don't need it. Thank you.
Okay. I've got two more voicemails.
All right.
Here's the next one. Oops. Sorry, my computer didn't like whatever it was I did. Well, I'll come back to that one. Okay, here's one.
My name is Betty Brooks. I live in the area of Harbison at Lake Murray Boulevard and Broad River Road. I'm calling to request that there no be change in the zoning. This is not a necessary service for a residential area. The congestion is already at a terrible standstill at 5 o'clock, and there are no lights that would help improve the situation. So I do protest the change in zoning. Thank you.
Okay, and here's another.
Hi, this is Cindy McEntee, Cindy Simons McEntee.
Oh.
Hello. I was calling.
Oh, I apologize. This is
voice my concern for the building. Hi, this is Cindy McEntee, Cindy Simons McEntee.
I apologize. That's a repeat.
Yeah. I was calling to voice my concern for the building of a gas station across the street. We've been coming to all of these hearings over the years. Whenever someone has tried to
when I tried to stop it, it
does
just
not
repeats.
fit into our neighborhood. We, like the others, have been concerned about the notice with regard to this. The city's website is misleading with regard to zoning hearings. And the
If-
customer care persons don't really understand what is going on either. So there's been a lot of confusion with regard to this, and we have requested a postponement. If you are not inclined to do that, I would
A suggestion
request that you
is
please allow
you
the
might
neighbors
read.
Okay, I've muted that for the time being. We'll give it a minute and then I'll unmute it and see if he has any further voicemails. So, and then I have a couple emails to read in to the record.
Lake Murray Boulevard. And you're right there at that property. The street selling alcohol and
While we're waiting on that, I will just read the two emails I have into the record for you all. We have, hold on a second, sorry. Okay. I got what is going on? A voicemail is on repeat from the public input, so I had to mute them, and that's what we were waiting on, because it's the same message over and over again. This is an email I received from a Kevin Simons. Good morning. In lieu of the COVID-19 pandemic, I would ask if the board meeting could be delayed or keep the comments open for 2 weeks. Doing this will help all interested parties to properly respond to the crucial issues of zoning. The families that live on Highway 60, Lake Murray Boulevard, have been there for upwards of 70 to 80 years. Having a drastic change in the area would adversely affect their way of living. I look forward to hearing from you, Kevin Simons. So the next.
Okay.
Andrew?
Yes. I can play, it looks like it's the last voicemail.
Is it a new voicemail?
I believe so, yes. And I apologize for the last one. The transcription made it appear to be a different name.
It's okay.
So, but yep, so here's this one.
Okay.
My name is Vanessa Abercrombie. We already have a gas station down the street from us where the Publix grocery store is located. We do not need another gas station right in front of our neighborhood. Broad River Road is already congested enough, and that is only going to make the congestion worse. We do not need another gas station. Thank you.
Okay, and that concludes the voicemails.
All right. Anyone? You had some emails?
Yes, but if you had another email to read, go ahead and read that, and then if mine are unique, I will read them.
Okay. This email is from Lynn Kenyon. Dear Board of Zoning members, we would like to take this opportunity to express our opposition to allowing a special exception which would permit the construction of a gas station convenience store at the intersection of Broad River Road and Lake Murray Boulevard. When we chose this area for our home 20 years ago, we understood that there would be traffic on Broad River since this road was already here when we made our decision. We definitely would not have chosen this location if there had been a gas station convenience store on the site. We're greatly concerned about the inevitable effects of noise and light pollution. We're certain that this business would have a hugely detrimental effect on our quality of life and that of our neighbors. We're also certain that this project would have a negative impact on the value of our homes and properties. In addition, we fear the great difficulty in selling our property should we choose to relocate to escape this environment. It appears to us, demonstrated by the current zoning, that this property was not intended for this proposed use, and that was a major factor in us purchasing our home. In conclusion, we have vehemently opposed granting this exception. We will attend the virtual meeting on May 7th. We can also phone in if recommended. Thank you very much. Sydney and Lynn Kenyon of the Forest Ridge subdivision. So in the other emails I had, those people have already spoken into the record. So they called in as well.
I do have a unique email.
Okay.
Looks, I believe. And this is from Gail Morales. Says, Dear Sir, Ma'am, I am writing to express my concern and disagreement regarding a permit to put a gas station, convenience store on Lake Murray Boulevard and Broad River. My family, the Simons family, have been residents across the street from this property for over 50 years. We have a peaceful domicile at our present residential location. We oppose any development which would destroy the land, bring in additional traffic and commercial businesses in this residential neighborhood. We have continuously fought to maintain a residential community in this location. When Harbison was developed just across the street, we were in favor of that change as it was a residential community. Since that time, further residential development as well as a church has been added, all consistent with building a residential community. Allowing commercial development will change our community for the worse, bringing in additional traffic, which has already increased. Non-members of our community present on a 24-hour basis, which typically brings crime and vagrants. My elderly mother has lived on Lake Murray Boulevard peacefully without fear for many years. We do not want her to be fearful to live in her own home. We also believe this commercial property will devalue our property, both 111 Lake Murray Boulevard as well as my adjoining property at 107 Lake Murray Boulevard. We respectfully request that this permit be denied. Regards, Gail Morales, Atlanta, Georgia. And there were a few emails that were, again, folks who have spoken.
Okay.
But I believe Mr. Grove is still on the line. If
he did use his 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, Andrew.
And so
Yeah, everybody
that
everybody that spoke so far did use their full time.
Okay.
Is that all?
That is all I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. All right. Does the applicant they have 5 minutes for rebuttal if they'd like to discuss.
Yeah, just a few items. I want to stress again that there'll be no access on Broad River Road, which is the interest to the most of the callers in the forest. Also, this convenience store is 5,000 square foot with 6 gas pumps. It's not going to cause people to drive into this area for the services. It's going to be servicing those that are already driving by. So we don't think there's any chance it's going to create new traffic. And as far as the existing convenience stores, gas stations, the closest one is 0.8 of a mile. I measured it this afternoon. The Murphy station going further west on Broad River Road, being almost a mile away. We don't consider that the immediate area. The other gas stations are in much more congested areas like Harbison Boulevard, which is to be avoided. I live in that area. There are stations in the area, but they're in areas that have much worse traffic than this location. Also, I wanted to make sure everybody understood. It's on the screen now, but the Harbison Group, DDRC, has given preliminary approval to our plan, so they're well aware of everything that we're asking for. Even though we have a lot more information to give them, they have given us their preliminary approval. So if there's any questions, be glad to answer them.
Yes, I have a question, Tom. Did y'all meet with any of the neighborhood associations about this plan? They seem to be very uneducated about the plan. They're all talking about access to Broad River Road and traffic on Broad River Road, and this is not going to have any impact at all on Broad River Road. I'm just wondering if they, if y'all have met with them about this.
No, we didn't meet directly with any residents. I was kind of under the impression that the Harbison Group would publicize and make that information available, but maybe that's not the case.
I can't see personally, based on the site plan, how it would have any impact on Broad River Road at all. And my understanding also is that you plan to keep all of the vegetation existing there that's fronting on Broad River Road with no access. And if that's the case, it seems like it'd be hard to see from there.
Yeah, the Harbison Group requires us to the fullest extent possible to leave the natural vegetation in that 20-foot strip.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. This is a very thorough application. The only question I have in my mind is number one about traffic. And you say you did a traffic impact study. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
What the results are? We didn't get a copy of that, right? I didn't ever look that.
No, it was not in the application.
Okay. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about those results?
Yeah, it's basically it looked at all the traffic on both roads, the amount of traffic that this facility would create, and of course the existing traffic, and came up with recommendations on how to mitigate the problems that could be created. The results were any access, Lake Murray or Broad River, would require a full left turn lane and full deceleration lanes. Broad River Road has some other issues going on, transitioning from the intersection. So it wasn't going to be a good situation on Broad River Road. So the applicant decided not to seek access on Broad River Road. And you can see on the preliminary plan where we're showing the full left turn lane and deceleration lane on Lake Murray Boulevard.
So those lanes were added as a result of the results of the traffic study?
Yes, traffic study.
Or with DOT, yeah.
Yeah, they indicated the need to construct a new left turn lane and deceleration lane. And this is not, these type of things, these type of lanes can run up to easily $300,000. So it's very substantial commitment on the developer's part.
Going back to that, so there's no light there. What is there a turn lane if a vehicle is turning left back on Lake Murray Boulevard out of your location? Is there a lane there to allow them to go across the lane and then get out of the way of traffic? How does I can't tell by this.
Yeah, it cuts it off. If you're traveling westward on Broad River Road, there is a full left turn lane to turn left onto Lake Murray Boulevard. I think it's 200-foot stacking lane. That's there. That's not shown on my plan.
And is there an acceleration lane if you're turning right onto Lake Murray Boulevard?
No, that was not indicated in the traffic study.
And is there any indication that this would meet the warrants for a traffic light that is across the street from the church?
Was not indicated in the study. No. That's that church, of course, has an entrance. That's one of two points for the church. And of course, the church is primarily a Sunday event.
Any other questions? I don't hear any. I'm gonna wait just a little bit.
George, you're
Hey, sorry,
talking.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have my mute on. I apologize. I do have a question. So I'm looking at the property on Google Earth, and it looks like there's a pretty significant setback from the essentially sort of like the edge of Broad River Road and where large growth buffer would actually occur on the property. So, and then if I go into Google Earth and I'm actually getting down into on the street view, it looks like the large growth that on your property is beyond the 20-foot buffer, which means all of that would be going away. Is that right?
I'm not really following you. There's overhead power lines running on the edge of the right-of-way.
Yeah, and there's no large growth in that. And it looks like that the right-of-way for the power lines is at least 20 feet off of Broad River Road.
I think the power poles are on the right-of-way line. I think so. I don't have exact measurements on what is cleared for the overhead power lines, but they're not in the property. The power poles will be right on the right-of-way line.
Okay.
And of course, you're looking. This aerial you've got appears to be winter. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking at a current Google Earth view on my laptop. So it's definitely not the winter view that we're seeing.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I have February views. So.
I don't have any other questions.
Chuck, two callers who used their 3 minutes have their hands raised again.
Mm-hmm.
It is up to you whether or not you'd like to recognize them.
I think we can have that, if that's okay, just a limited, let's say limited to 1 minute each.
1 minute each.
Yep.
All right, Andrew, did you catch that? Those with their hands up can speak in 1 minute intervals.
Okay. Great. I will start with the next speaker.
Okay.
Sorry, it's taking a second.
Hi, this is Marilyn Johnson again. Can you hear me?
Yes, and Ms. Johnson, because you had used your 3 minutes, the chair has given you another minute to do kind of
That's
your
fine.
final remarks.
That's fine. Okay, it'll be less than a minute.
I haven't
The
started
person
it
that's
yet. You go ahead.
Okay. The person that's requesting to build these the gas station and convenience store, have you done a traffic accident study in that area? Number one. Number two, have you talked with the church, Riverland Hills, as far as what they think about this? I personally know a lot of the folks over there at Riverland Hills. And the other question is, it sounds like you really don't have all your facts together, and the traffic is horrific in this area, in that particular area. And again, we're asking that you not allow this to occur. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Okay. And here's the next speaker.
Hello, this is Johnny Barnett again. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Barnett, you will have just 1 minute for your kind of final comments. I'm going to start your time now.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It also sounds, I agree with the last caller, the gentleman, the engineer who was speaking for the property guys that want to build the project. His comments sound kind of self-serving. I don't have a copy of the traffic report ending, but it said it would not have add to the traffic. But quite naturally, it's not going to add to the traffic, but it affects the traffic because they would not have to do special lanes and all of that type stuff. And also the property, we're here seeking special exemption from the property was not originally zoned for that. We bought our property out here in this Harbison area, the Harvest Forest area. And I don't know, and plus also, I don't know how to speak for all the ones who should have been here who got the wrong notice about this meeting. I think we should just postpone this so we get everybody input. There's no meeting with the church, no meeting with the community that it's affecting. It seems kind of whacked out the way they did this, and if they'd have met with the communities and got out of concerns up front, maybe some of this could have been resolved. But right now, as it stands, is a gas station, if it's approved, it's going to be a nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Okay, here is the next speaker.
Hello?
Hello. Can you state your name?
Ferdinand Williams. I spoke earlier, and I know you're only given 1 minute,
Sure.
but this will take less than 1 minute.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. There's something that I neglected to point out also. Adjacent from where they're talking about building this, there are first responders over there. There is a police substation for the City of Columbia, and there's also City of Columbia Fire Department station over there as well. These guys are very off base when they're talking about the traffic. The traffic is horrendous out here. And, being that those first responders are over there, it also affects their time to get to emergencies and respond to people in need. with this additional traffic being placed because of this construction of a gas station. And I know some people have been saying that, the gas stations are miles away. These gas stations are less than a mile away from us. We don't need this. We don't need this. And you guys really need to, adhere to the voices of concern here and deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's see. Here's the next one. Again, give it a second.
Sir, this is Dave Grove again at Harbison. The gentleman just mentioned something that was the first time that anybody's referred to it, but the fire department is located directly across the street from where this facility would be constructed. I'm not sure that the board understands the location of the fire department, and that needs to be pointed out. But thank you very much. Again, our specific request is that the board postpone any decision, give us an opportunity to notify the community, and then let them know when the next hearing is going to be held so they can all voice their opinions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grove.
Okay, I have two new callers.
Oh, for bus lunches. You need public comment.
Would you like me to go ahead with one of the new callers?
Please. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, my name is Beatrice Fields. I live in the neighborhood of, I live on Foxglove Lane. And I'm calling in behalf of, I'm against the gas station coming up. I've listened to all the concerns of why, and I'm in agreement. I was trying to, I pushed the wrong star, so now I'm able to speak. I wanted to point out the fire department being across the street. They mentioned that the entrance would be on Lake Murray Boulevard. Because I travel this area frequently back and forth, I am a police officer, and I understand the congestion of the traffic that's on Broadway Road turning onto Lake Murray Boulevard. So although the traffic is on Broad River Road, we also have traffic on Lake Murray Boulevard, because that traffic on Broad River Road is turning on Lake Murray Boulevard. And it's also turning in front of that fire station, police station, and that church. He mentioned that the church is only active on Sunday. That's not true. They have Bible study throughout the week, and they also have events that go on throughout the week at that church, which create traffic. You're also talking about two apartment complex on Lake Murray Boulevard. So I'm fully aware of the traffic in this area. Adding another gas station right there on that intersection, at that intersection of Lake Murray and Broad River, is not going to be beneficial for the community because of what we're speaking of, what we're voicing our concerns about, and that's the traffic and the accidents that occur in that area, along with the increasing of foot traffic that's occurring in that area. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity. Y'all have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Okay, and I have another speaker.
Hello, this is Gail Morales, and you read my statement from my email. I do also want to add and confirm what the previous speaker said. Absolutely, the church is open and the recreation center is open. There are people over there on a regular basis. The fire department is on that corner as well. There is traffic there. Our home is literally less than 100 yards away from there. And we can hear traffic all day long going up and down that road to the tune that you can't sleep in the front room of our house because of the traffic. So to say that this will not be additive, and the young lady who said, the police officer who said people are coming off of Broad River onto Lake Murray is absolutely correct. We have lived in that intersection for many, many years, and it is extremely busy, and we know it because people are constantly turning around in front of our house. So adding anything to this situation will only make it worse for the community. I would appreciate if you would deny this request. Thank you.
Okay, and in addition, I do have, I believe, one additional comment that came in on the site. If you are ready, I'll go ahead and read it.
Okay.
And Lynn Kenyon, Kenyon.
I read
We
an
live
email
directly.
from them. Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It might be a new one, but they had sent one in previously.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's fairly short. It says, we live directly across the street from the site, and it will definitely impact our property and quality of life across Broad River Road. Our backyard is basically right across the street. As we sit at our kitchen table right now, we are looking right at the site. The buffer they refer to is negligible. And then there was a follow-up comment. It says, Mr. Schaefer is correct. The buffer does not have large growth.
Thank you.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Does the applicant want to add anything else?
Yes, one more item concerning the fire station. There's an emergency flashing light system in place. So if they need access to the road, they will stop traffic in all directions.
I'm looking at that plan. Is that a raised median? This creating that turn lane, or is that just paint on the?
You're referring to our turn lane?
I was looking at the site plan. It looks like a raised median. Is that?
No. No. There's no raised median.
Okay, gotcha. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, are we, is this a question period or are we moving into board discussion? Because I would like to make a few comments in the board discussion period.
First, if there's any questions for the applicant, if there are none, then let's move into board discussion.
Okay, well, I certainly have no questions, but I would like to discuss this matter. I know we've all been here a while and certainly had a lively discussion, so I'll be brief. But taking all this in, this has been an interesting discussion. This is an interesting area. This is it's a site left in a very, very close to an extremely congested, developed, heavy area of town. It's a site in Harbison that's surrounded by residential properties and surrounded by some vacant land and surrounded by what appears to be some sort of a park, and also in close proximity to Harbison State Forest. So I think it's unique in that it's so close to such developed areas, but also is unique in that it does have a very residential feel to it. You don't see much commercial intrusion into this area. I see all the homes on the Google photos, and that's all I see surrounding it. So I would just point out to the board, there have been many, many times where we've had requests for commercial type establishments to be developed in residential areas, and we've pretty much stuck to our guns that in areas that are mostly residential, we feel that those kinds of things are not appropriate. And as I go down the specific criteria here for granting a special exception, personally, it is my opinion that I have a hard time seeing how they meet almost any of the criteria for granting the special exception. I think it's whether or not there's a traffic study that's been developed or not. I think, in my opinion only, it's absolutely a fact, in my opinion, that this would create more traffic for the area. And just running through, I don't want to run through all these criteria for special exception because we have been here for so long and other people may want to speak, but it in my opinion does not even come close to meeting the threshold for granting a special exception here. I would strongly urge the board to deny the special exception. One last thing I'll point out, one of the criteria is, does it fit within the general character of the neighborhood? Or I'm paraphrasing, I don't have them up, but no, it's not even close. Look at this aerial photo that's on the screen. All residential, vacant land, some sort of a park that's now being constructed. It's one last kind of unique area so close to all these heavily developed areas. Let's listen to the neighborhood in this case. In my opinion, this is not even close to meeting the criteria for a special exception.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Yeah, I would totally agree with Gene on that. I feel like some sites are better suited to a convenience store and a gas station. In fact, we had a site on the consent agenda today for a convenience store and a gas station. And the reason it was approved on the consent agenda is because it didn't have any of the troubling adjacencies that this particular property does. Gene already told you what they were, and he was exactly right about them. I would agree that I have a hard time finding there are one or two potential of the criteria that they may be close to meeting, but for the most part, I do not think that this special exception for this location should be approved.
Okay. Any other comments? Is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we deny the request for the special exception for the subject property.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion prior to roll call?
My earbuds died just as y'all made that motion. Can I hear it again?
Would you please?
Yes, Jenna, this is Gene. I made the motion that we deny the request for a special exception for this property.
Do you mind listing the criteria, Gene, as to why you're denying?
Yes, let me pull them up. Well, Rachel, I don't know, and I'm kind of asking and stating, I'm not sure that I have to list them all because the criteria would be that.
Yeah, just the ones that you really feel strongly about.
That's right. It would have to make them all, but I could make an argument that it doesn't really meet very many of the criteria at all. But I base my motion to deny this request based upon the following specific criteria. I do think it will have a substantial adverse impact on traffic and exacerbate an already really bad traffic situation. I think that it could have some adverse impacts on these adjoining residential properties, such as environmental factors such as noise, lights, glare, etc. And most of them really, but most strongly is I do not think that a proposed gas station in this location is compatible with the permitted uses adjacent to and in the vicinity of the property.
So, and you mentioned gas station, and I just want to reiterate that we're going to need two motions. So we need one based on the gasoline service station, and then we'll do another one on the convenience store. So this one is for the gas station.
Okay.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Bailey, would you?
Yes. Mr. Sally?
Aye.
Mr. Dinkins?
Aye.
Mr. Primus?
He's muted.
Aye.
Mr. Speed?
don't think he's on the call.
Aye.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Sorry,
I was about to say the same thing. All right, Ms. Stevens,
Yes, aye.
Mr. Schaefer,
Aye.
and Mr. Gregory.
I think he's recused, correct?
He is.
Yeah, I recuse.
Thank you. I apologize. All right, motion passes. The next motion would need to be for the convenience store.
Okay, I'll make the motion again. Quickly, I'd like to make a motion that we deny the special exception for a convenience store on this property.
I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Sally,
Aye.
Mr. Dinkins,
Aye.
Mr. Primus,
Aye.
Mr. Speed,
Aye.
Ms. Schaefer,
Miss Stevens?
Ms. Stevens, I'm sorry. Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah, I'm an aye.
All right. I apologize, you all. I'm a
You're
little
fine.
tired. All right, motion passes. And there is no other business on the agenda, unless there was anything you all wanted to bring up. I want to thank you all again for your patience. I have a feeling we'll be doing a few of these this way. We'll be doing virtual for at least a couple months. I'll keep you all posted. But this was only our second time using this public input software. So thank you all for your patience, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and you all can move on with a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'd like to also, before we adjourn, just extend my gratitude and appreciation for all the staff that made this together. And I know Rachel's been working very hard to put this together, and Andrew, also all of your assistance today as well. So that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
All right. You all have a great evening.
Thanks.
Take care. Stay safe.
Everybody. Aye.
Okay. Bye-bye.